It is so bad. 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 It is so bad.
What are you doing?
It is so bad. Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. And it is just Marco here. Once again, I am very, very disappointed. After I went from not wanting to ever watch Wonder Woman and calling her Wimpy Woman. I went from that to being like, wow, that's one of the best movies I've ever seen. She's fantastic as Wonder Woman. I can't wait to watch the second one. I went from that to, wow. This was really, really bad. And it's frustrating because it feels like the same feeling that all those Snyder cultists had when, the Justice League came out. I was mad about that too. Like, even though I hated his movies, I still thought, let him finish his shitty movie. That he already was working on it, so let him finish it. But this movie right here, this was what I can imagine they felt like when that movie came out. That was how bad this was. It feels like they took something that first movie, which was just amazing. They took that and they just shat all over it. And they just made something that was so bad, it's unspeakably bad. This movie is so bad. I don't know what to say about this movie. I have no idea what to say. I mean, wow. I don't know where to even begin. The whole movie, usually I only have a couple of things to say, and it takes 20 to 30 minutes, and this one is a bit different because the whole movie I just kept on finding things to say to the point of where I don't even think it's worth it, because so many people have destroyed this movie and have given it terrible reviews, and I thought, yeah, that sounds bad, but is there a possibility it is actually good? Is there a possibility that they're just full of it? Well, they were right. That's for damn sure. It's just so sad to me, this movie, it encapsulated 2020 perfectly, in the sense that, that whole year was a disappointment. Then again, the year 2022 turned into a disappointment, and 2023 is a disappointment. Other years have been disappointments, so, I guess this was just another disappointment, this movie, and, It's literally like this, guys. It's like somebody looked at the criticisms for the first movie, which were, at least to my knowledge, everyone complained about the final 30 minutes with the fight with Ares, and just Ares in general. He was a weak villain, kind of, because he really wasn't in the movie very much. And then at the end, he has this whole monologue, and, you have this messy thing between him and her, and this thing where she chooses love. And it's hilarious because this movie, it is the ultimate hypocrisy, contradiction to everything in the first movie. Every single thing about the first movie is contradicted in this one. over and over and over again. Like, it is ridiculous. And so I think I'm going to focus on that and just try to get through this review without just exploding, because not exploding in anger, but just exploding in sadness and despair and agony and pain and misery and suffering, because I suffered watching this movie. I suffered a great deal, and I wished I never watched this movie, because everyone was right. And this was 2.5 hours. There was a certain point in this movie where I was eating my dinner, and I looked at the time, and I was like, this movie is so bad. Is it over soon? And I looked at the time, and it said, Marco, you have 50 minutes left. And do you know what I did? I cried. I cried watching this movie. And I'm being serious, guys. I literally started crying because I thought, 50 minutes left of this movie? 50 minutes left of this crap? And by the way, guys, Amazon, I just want to give a quick shout out to Amazon Prime, because they are fucked up now. In their movies now, when you're watching their movies, they're advertising for you to buy shit on the side of the screen. You know how when you hover the mouse over the screen, they'll show the cast, the actors, and then they'll show trivia about the movie? Well, now, guess what they're doing? They're advertising Funko Pops and T-shirts and action figures, like, ooh, you need to buy this, you need to buy this. Fuck you, Amazon. Fuck you up the ass. But as I said, or as I was trying to say, this movie is like, what if you took the villain from the first movie, which, they had a great villain, though, Ludendorff. He was fucking awesome. Awesome villain. And even Dr. Poison, she was awesome. It's like you took that weak villain, Ares. Okay, people did not like Ares. I'm going to take that, and I'm going to fix the villain, and I'm just going to make a villain who's just so fucking badass and just oozes charisma and just oozes like fucking power and awesomeness and just like, yeah. And it's like everything else, fuck it. Let's just fucking, whatever. Let's just forget about everything else. Let's forget about plot. Let's forget about character development. Let's forget about the music for this movie is somehow bad. Because at one point in the movie, there are so many odd music choices that don't fit at all what's going on. Like, there's this part where she's flying, and all of a sudden, the song, Sun, is it Sun? Is it, because let me look at it. I think maybe it might have been Sunrise. It was in Kick-Ass. It's a famous song. It was also in the X-Men Days of Future Past trailer. For the first half, I believe, of the trailer, and then the second half switched to another song. What is that song? It John Murphy, is it The Sun? Is it just The Sun? Oh, The Surface of the Sun. Yeah, it's a great song. Very, very powerful and moving. And it did not fit this scene at all. It stuck out like, okay, like, I guess that's happening now. Like, they're playing this song for a random reason. There are so many times in the movie where I just felt like I'm lost. Like, what am I supposed to feel right now? Like, am I supposed to laugh at this? Am I supposed to be sad about this? Like, there's so many random things. Like, this movie isn't even a movie. It's like a vignette of 1980s SNL sketches starring not Wonder Woman, starring Gal Gadot. Because, and I feel bad for her too, because as I said in the first movie, she's fantastic. She's so bad, but so good, and so cute. Just the cutest superhero I've ever seen. And in this movie, she's like, she's not the character. Like, they took this major superhero character, and in the second movie she's not herself, like the entire movie. You know that whole thing about choose love? You know that whole thing about how she wants to spread love around the world? Well, how does she do that? Well, she lets Hitler do the Holocaust, and she lets, like, fucking all these bad things happen, serial killers, terrorism, sex trafficking. You know, she lets all that happen, and the way that she spreads love around the world is by hiding like a recluse and just being, like, kind of evasive to guys. Like, just guys are just walking sex objects, like all they want to do is sleep with her or something. Like, it was this very weird, like, mentality of hers where, like, if a guy approached her, it was just automatically like, oh, he obviously wants to sleep with her. It's like he couldn't want to talk to her for any other reason. And the thing with just her hiding at home and just thinking about Steve. Like, she's so obsessed with Steve. And I gotta say, too, like, Steve Trevor, he shouldn't have been in this movie at all. Like, the whole thing, like, that whole storyline with her raping a man and just turning, it is so bad, guys. It's terrible. It's terrible. There's a random guy, and Steve Trevor has possessed him, and she sleeps with him, and she treats him like a sex slave, and she fucking... It is so bad. Why did they do this? Why? Why would you do this after that first movie was so good? It's like, as I said, take all the great stuff from the first movie. And I'm starting to cry now. I am starting to cry. I feel a tear. I'm going to rub it away to hope I don't cry anymore. They took all the good stuff out of the first movie. And they're like, but let's make a really good villain and then just have the bad movie around it. And I haven't even begun. I mean, that whole thing with her abusing this guy who, you know, he's possessed the whole movie. That was so weird. And it is so telling that, like, there wasn't, like, a major backlash to that by the mainstream media. Like, if it was the opposite, if they did a movie where a guy slept with a random girl who was possessed by a girlfriend who died, do you know how much shit that movie would be in? Like, do you know the amount of endless criticism that movie would receive? And I've heard the comparisons to Big, which totally baffles me, because that was a completely different circumstance. He was a boy who turned into a man. And she didn't know, guys. She did not know This bitch knows. She knows that this guy is not Steve Trevor. And she ignores it. The whole movie, she's acting like everyone else has to renounce their wish, but she doesn't have to. And only in the final, 20 minutes does she actually say, bye-bye. And Big, she sleeps with this man, this guy that she thinks is a man with a little boy's mind. and she thinks he's a man. And he knows that he's not a man, but he knows he's a man on the outside, and that's all you have to do to get with her. And honestly, that movie, it hit on a universal level to where I guarantee you 99% of boys watching Big with Tom Hanks, 90% of those boys would say, if I was in that guy's shoes, if I was in that boy's shoes, I would totally want a piece of that. Totally. The fact that, there's no comparison at all. Because that's just something where it's she did not know that whole movie. She finds out at the end, and she's sad, but she's still in love with them. And yes, that part was fucked up, but not really, because it's it's emotional and it's moving. But this is so different to where she knows the whole time. She knows what she's doing is wrong, but she acts like it's not wrong because it's Steve Trevor and she can do whatever she wants. And by the way, it doesn't even feel like Steve Trevor. This feels like Steve Trevor in an SNL skit. It doesn't even feel like the character. I feel no association with the first movie. I feel like the first movie is perfection, and this movie is the opposite of that. That whole thing of life is good, but it can be better. It's yeah, fucking make this movie better. Everything about this movie could be better. I mean seriously, the real villain of this movie was the script. And Cheetah, wow. Talk about bad character, bad acting, just bad. Everybody said, do not cast Kristen Wiig as Cheetah. I mean, honestly, it wouldn't have mattered if you had fucking Audrey Hepburn as Cheetah in this fucking movie. It's still that bad. It still would have been that bad because of the terrible script. Her character was a disaster. I mean, I don't know, and people have already said all this stuff, but I don't know how, for the millionth time, you have this stupid caricature where you have a nerd who's an outcast, and then he becomes a really evil villain. I bet that's not how the character is in the comics, by the way, which I don't think she is. And so that was a fail. That whole character, Cheetah, her whole story was bizarre. The dialogue in this movie was terrible, by the way. There was this one awful line where Alistair, the son of Max Lord, he looks at his dad and he said, "I wish for your greatness." And I thought, you can tell that a little boy did not write that line. And I'm not saying little boys do not write their own lines, but I'm saying that is not something that a little boy would say. "I wish for your greatness." No, sorry. He would say I wish that you were great, or I wish that you would do great, or something like that. They wouldn't say, "I wish for your greatness." What the fuck is up with that? And And there's other bad lines too. There's lots of bad lines. That's not the only one. I'm telling you guys, like, this movie is this this movie is, it's like a treasure trove of bad stuff. It's really bad. It's so bad. And I don't know what to say. This movie broke me. I'm gonna review movies again because this was so fucking bad. No, I'm just kidding. This movie didn't break me, but it nearly did, because this movie was so bad. I'm just announcing this to you guys right now. I have this as my worst DC movie of all time. It is below The Batman, Suicide Squad, Zack Snyder's Justice League, Green Lantern, Batman and Robin, Batman Forever, Batman v Superman. Those movies are like masterpieces in comparison to this. I'm just so like, I don't know. But I will say, the only good thing, and I mean the only good thing, was Max fucking Lord. That character, that actor, he did an incredible job. I mean, he took this script. He was like Jeffrey fucking Combs taking a fucking Full Moon feature script, and he was like, I am gonna treat this like it is Citizen Kane. This script is bad. Everything about it sucks. I'm gonna take this bad script and I'm gonna tame it like it's a wild beast. And he gave an Oscar-worthy performance in this movie. Like, hidden inside this awful movie, he gave an Oscar-worthy performance. And it sucks that performance is imprisoned inside this trash movie, inside this bottom-of-the-barrel garbage bin movie. It's overly long, too. Like, a lot of this movie is very repetitive. It's just very stretched out. Like, that opening sequence, that 10-minute sequence of young Diana doing, like, this weird, like, Olympic sport competition thing. 10 minutes? And then, of course, you get that whole, that stupid heist thing with the mall, and just, oh, God. Oh, like, I'm sorry, like, I hated this. I hated it so much. I hate this movie with every part of me, with my soul. My soul hates this movie. Like, not just me, but my soul. And I don't think that's a good thing. Like, I mean, just, wow, like, and there's this part where just out of nowhere, she appears with this golden armor on, Wonder Woman does, to fight Cheetah, like, for no reason. It's just for no fucking reason. Like, what the hell is that? And then the whole last part where she gets into the satellite place thing and she confronts Maxwell Lord, and she's just sitting there in a corner crying. Like, this movie's really bad. And the worst part is at the end, when it's like, you know what the solution is to this problem that is basically unsolvable? All the people in the world have to renounce their wishes. And I thought, holy shit, that is the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard of. Like, so poor people have to wish to be poor again. Rape victims have to wish that they can be raped again. Sex trafficking victims have to wish that they can, keep on being sex trafficked. Like, this is bad. That's just bad. That is terrible. It reminds me of like Double Double Toil and Trouble, where the message of that movie was partly like that, you should be happy to be homeless. This was like a large-scale version of that movie. But that movie was good. I love that movie, Double Double Toil and Trouble. But there's so many complications to this issue. Like, if you think about it, the way that this movie was treating the whole concept of wishes going bad and having to pay a price, which, by the way, I guess I should say, like, what would I wish for? I don't... honestly, like, after seeing the first Wonder Woman, I would fucking wish to fucking make a movie starring Gal Gadot. Like, she was that good of an actress in that movie that would be my wish at this moment. Like, because I thought, wow, she does not deserve to be in these terrible movies that she's in right now. Like Wonder Woman 2, all these straight to DVD. I mean, Netflix movies like Red Notice and all those pieces of shit. She doesn't deserve that. She needs to be in good movies where she can demonstrate her acting abilities. So that's what I would wish for, if I could wish for anything. But yeah, there's so many complications because you think about, I would say that like in the first 10 seconds of people all over the world wishing like this, the world would explode in 10 seconds because everything would just override each other. Like the thing with the nukes with Russia and the US, it would have happened like 1,000,000 years ago before that it got to that moment. If it was this much of a scale, all the people in the whole world wishing. And then, that's not the worst part. The worst part is you think about, what about all the superheroes and the supervillains? Like, what if... Yeah, just think about how stupid this movie thinks you are. Because it says, like, you know what? What if everyone in the whole world, including supervillains, got to wish for whatever they wanted? And just imagine that because Wonder Woman cried and she asked politely, the supervillains, they all renounced their wishes. Like, yeah, okay, dream on. That's bullshit. That would never happen. So, yeah, like, because that's saying, like, Lex Luthor, he is in this universe, right? That means Lex Luthor would have gotten a wish. You think that Lex fucking Luthor is going to give up his wish? Hell no. You'd have to be stupid to think something like that. Lex Luthor, of all people, I mean, he would be like, I don't think so, Wonder Woman. And I'm doing a terrible Lex Luthor voice. And I'll never play Lex Luthor, but it's just terrible. It's a terrible voice anyway. I'm never going to do that, Wonder Woman. God, what voice was that? That was just atrocious. I should just throw my acting card in the trash right now. So, if that's not all, though, the shitstorm isn't over. Because the whole movie is actually solved by someone's wish, if you guys don't realize. Like, it blows my mind how I don't think anyone has mentioned this, but the whole movie, all the problems are actually solved by one character making a wish. Alistair, he goes up to this monitor, this computer, or TV, whatever, I can't remember, a clunky piece of 80s trash, that you'd see at Goodwill nowadays for $30. Alistair goes up to this monitor and he's like, "Daddy, I wish you were here. I wish you were here with me, Daddy. I wish you were here." Guess what, guys? The only way in that situation that Daddy would go there with his son is if that kid wished for him to come there. Because he was busy doing supervillain shit. He was busy giving everyone in the world wishes. So the only way that he would have gotten back to his son is for all the problems to go away. So basically, this movie's like, wishes are bad. Like, nobody should ever wish for anything. But all the problems in the movie, they're going to be solved by somebody making a wish. Okay. And then, the whole thing about Wonder Woman spreading love around the world, that never happens. I mean, she kind of has this mentality where, like, Cheetah, she's not going to renounce her wish, and Wonder Woman is like, "Oh, really? Well, guess what? I'm going to try and kill you." So, like, yeah, I don't see the love. Where's the love, Wonder Woman? Like, where is this love that she talked about at the end of the first movie? Where's the love? Because in this movie, the only love that I saw was her love for Steve Trevor. Like, at the beginning of this movie, she was talking to Barbara Minerva, and Barbara's like, "Can we have lunch together?" And Wonder Woman's first instinct is to lie and say, "F you. I'm not going to do that. I'm busy," quote unquote. And it's like, where's the love, Wonder Woman? Where is the love? It's nowhere to be seen, in my opinion. I didn't see any love this movie from Wonder Woman except for Steve Trevor and, raping the guy the whole movie. So yeah, I hated this movie. It was bad, and I fucking hate it. My food rating would be, I came up with this early on in the movie, and then I had to add a twist to it because the movie just got so bad, and it turned into like a Neil Breen movie at the end too, like the whole montage of people renouncing their wishes. That was straight out of like a Neil Breen movie, guys. Straight out of Neil Breen. This is Neil Breen's Wonder Woman. So what I was thinking was mac and cheese. In my opinion, Annie's mac and cheese is the best kind. Kraft 3 cheese mac is pretty good. I've only had it once, but Annie's is really the best kind. And to me, there are just certain days where, like, you have to just settle for mac and cheese. They're rainy, shitty days, and you're just like, I'm gonna have mac and cheese. But then you look in the cupboard, and you figure out that you don't have any Annie's mac and cheese. All you have is Kraft Original. And once you taste the cheesy goodness of Annie, her creamy deliciousness, her oozing cheesy goody scrumptious flavor, you never want to go back to that Kraft mac and cheese. So it's kind of like, ugh, okay, fine, I'll have Kraft Original Mac. And then after that, because that's what this movie could have been if it was just like a C-grade movie, like it was kind of at the beginning. But then as it got worse and worse and worse, it turned into this. You open the cupboard, and there is one box of Kraft Original Mac. You open the box, and bugs just crawl out of the box, and they just crawl all over the place and all over your hands, and it's so gross and disgusting you gotta throw the mac and cheese out. So guess what, motherfucker? You're not having any mac and cheese. You're not having anything. You are gonna go hungry because you have to. You know, you gotta renounce your wish to have lunch. You gotta renounce the wish to have some mac and cheese because Wonder Woman said so. That is my food rating for this movie. So yeah, that's basically it. That's all I can say. I hope that I really hope that Gal Gadot gets to be Wonder Woman, because if she doesn't, like, I'm not going to support any Wonder Woman that's not played by her, honestly. Like, I think that's kind of a waste of time. It's kind of like there was a point where Christopher Lee played Dracula in the 50s. And during that time period, you know, I would have been like, oh, there's a new Dracula coming out without Christopher Lee. I'm not supporting that. I'm not watching that. I mean, it's one thing for, like, you know, Michael Keaton. He's old, and I don't want to ever see him as Batman again after The Flash. After what they did with that movie. But it's another thing for this young woman who has a lot of movies ahead of her, hopefully, that are good. It's another thing for them to be like, oh no, she can't be in it because we're doing a fresh start, fresh from the Snyderverse. And I gotta be honest, like, I am very upset that, like, after all these years of not supporting this iteration of Wonder Woman, that now that I'm supporting her, she's going to be taken away. I think that's very upsetting. And I wish that it were different because, you know, I might not even review those movies, guys. Like, I might not even watch and review, like, James Gunn's DC movies because I really don't want to. I really think that just every single thing that I'm seeing about him and his creative decisions with the DC universe just makes me, like, just not impressed at all. Just very, like, I don't know, just dismayed. Like, yes, DC needed to get their shit together. Because you have movies like this where they pretended like no supervillains and no superheroes existed besides Wonder Woman. Because just think about Batman. Did Batman wish for something and have to renounce it? Like, there's so many questions here. But they didn't need to hire James Gunn to be the head of DC now. He was not a good choice. I guarantee you guys. And you know what? Just for the fact that I didn't watch the first Wonder Woman until now, and because I was like, no, I'm not going to watch that, and then I finally watched it, and I was like, oh, damn it. I am not going to be watching or reviewing any of the James Gunn DC movies. And that is a promise. I promise you guys. And you guys know I haven't reviewed a single Disney Star Wars thing on this channel. And I never will. And I'm making that promise right now about these upcoming DC movies. So please like this video, comment, and subscribe. Bye everybody, see you soon.